The human mind, a labyrinth of thought, emotion, and instinct. We believe we are masters of our own destiny, capable of rational choice, of decisive action. Yet, there are invisible chains that bind us, subtle forces that hold us captive to the past, to people, to possibilities long gone. We know we should move on, but we cannot. Why? What hidden mechanisms compel us to cling to what hurts us, to what no longer serves us? Consider this, for a moment. Imagine a relationship, perhaps a friendship, a partnership, or even a professional affiliation, that has, by all objective measures, withered. It brings more pain than joy, more stress than peace. Yet, despite the clear evidence, despite the quiet pleas of your own inner voice, you find yourself unable to sever the ties. You revisit old memories, you rationalize their flaws, you hold on to a phantom limb of what once was. This is not a failure of will. This is a profound, deeply wired psychological phenomenon, a testament to the complex machinery of our minds. It is a predicament that transcends cultures, ages, and backgrounds, a universal human struggle that plays out in countless quiet lives, from the bustling streets of Mumbai to the serene landscapes of Kerala. We all experience it, don't we? That persistent, nagging inability to simply let go. This inability, you see, is not just a personal failing or a temporary weakness. It is rooted in the very architecture of our brains, in the evolutionary imperatives that shaped us, and in the intricate psychological constructs we build around ourselves. We are not just talking about sentimentality here. No, we are delving into the deep, often dark, science behind why farewells are so agonizing, why closures seem so elusive, and why, despite our best intentions, we remain prisoners of our own past. Tonight, we peel back the layers of this profound human dilemma. We will journey into the depths of cognitive science, neurobiology, and behavioral psychology to uncover the silent forces that dictate our attachments and our aversions to change. We will explore how our brains conspire to keep us tethered, how our identities become intertwined with external entities, and how the very hope of future reward can hold us hostage in the present. This is not merely an intellectual exercise, this is an exploration into the core of human resilience, and surprisingly, human vulnerability. Understanding these hidden sciences is the first step, perhaps the only step, towards truly liberating ourselves from the unyielding grip of the past. It's time, you see, to unravel the intricate tapestry of why you can't let go, the hidden science. One of the most powerful, and perhaps insidious, psychological mechanisms that anchors us to the past is the formidable duo of cognitive dissonance and the sunk cost fallacy. Picture this. You are deeply invested in something, be it a romantic relationship, a career path, or even a specific project. You have poured years, emotional energy, financial resources, all into this endeavor. Now, imagine it begins to fail. Objectively, the signs are clear. The relationship is toxic, the job is a dead end, the project is yielding no results. Yet, instead of cutting your losses, you find yourself doubling down, investing even more. Why? This is where cognitive dissonance, a theory famously proposed by Leon Festinger in 1957, comes into play. Dissonance arises when we hold conflicting beliefs, attitudes, or behaviors. For instance, you believe you are a smart, rational individual, but you are also engaging in a clearly irrational behavior, staying in a failing situation. This creates immense psychological discomfort. To alleviate this discomfort, our brains are incredibly adept at rationalizing our decisions. We twist the narrative, we minimize the negatives, we exaggerate the positives. We tell ourselves, it's not so bad, or, things will get better, or, I have put so much into this, it must eventually pay off. This internal fabrication is far less painful than admitting we made a mistake, that our precious investment was, in fact, a waste. The alternative, acknowledging the failure, would shatter our self-perception as competent decision makers. It is a hefty price, a blow to our ego that our minds are engineered to avoid at all costs. Complementing this is the sunk cost fallacy. This bias describes our tendency to continue investing in a losing venture because of the resources already spent. We confuse past investments with future potential. A classic example, which many of us can relate to, is staying in a crumbling marriage for 20 years. Consider Sunita, a homemaker from Delhi, who, despite years of emotional neglect and growing apart from her husband, simply cannot contemplate divorce. When asked, she might say, "But I have given him my entire life. 20 years, 2 children. What will I do now? All that time, all that effort, it will all be for nothing if I leave." The emotional and temporal investment is so significant that the prospect of walking away feels like throwing away not just the future, but also the entire past. The sunk cost of her life's dedication becomes an unbreakable chain. She isn't weighing the future potential of the relationship, she is paralyzed by the perceived loss of her past investment. She is not alone, of course. We see this in companies continuing to fund failing projects, governments investing in white elephant infrastructure, and individuals holding on to depreciating assets, all because the initial investment was substantial. The fear of acknowledging wasted effort often outweighs the potential benefits of a fresh start. It is a powerful mental trap, locking us into courses of action that are no longer beneficial, all to protect our perception of past rationality. The brain, in its quest for internal consistency, will weave elaborate tales, convincing us that the path of least psychological resistance is to simply keep pushing forward, even if that path leads nowhere. Moving deeper into the emotional landscape, we encounter attachment theory and the primal fear of abandonment. This particular tether to the past is often forged in the earliest crucible of our lives, childhood. Developed by British psychoanalyst John Bowlby in the mid-20th century, and further elaborated by Mary Ainsworth through her seminal, Strange Situation, experiments in 1978, attachment theory posits that humans have an innate, evolutionary drive to form strong emotional bonds with primary caregivers. These early attachments shape our internal working models of relationships, influencing how we perceive intimacy, trust, and separation throughout our lives. When these early attachments are insecure, perhaps due to inconsistent care, neglect, or even over-intrusive parenting, children develop a deep-seated fear of abandonment. This fear, far from dissipating in adulthood, often transmutes into a potent, subconscious driver of behavior. We carry these childhood blueprints into our adult relationships, unconsciously seeking to either recreate the patterns we know, or desperately avoid the pain we experienced. This can manifest as an inability to let go of relationships, even those that are clearly detrimental. For someone with an anxious attachment style, for instance, the mere thought of separation can trigger intense distress, a return to the primal fear of being alone and unprotected. The emotional pain of letting go is not just about losing the person, it's about reactivating an ancient, terrifying wound of abandonment. Consider Rohan, a young professional working in Mumbai, who finds himself repeatedly drawn back to an ex-girlfriend, Kavita. Their relationship was tumultuous, marked by frequent arguments, emotional manipulation, and periods of separation followed by dramatic reconciliations. Friends and family advise him to move on, to find someone who offers stability and respect. Yet, every time Kavita signals a flicker of interest, Rohan drops everything, despite knowing the inevitable cycle of pain that awaits him. For Rohan, the fear of Kavita truly disappearing, of being definitively abandoned, is far more terrifying than the recurring heartache she causes. His early experiences of an unpredictable caregiver have hardwired him to equate even negative attention with connection, and the absence of it with existential threat. He clings to the volatile familiarity, because the absolute unknown, the true letting go, feels like stepping off a cliff into an abyss of loneliness that his deepest psyche cannot tolerate. The emotional security, however fragile, that Kavita represents, acts as a powerful anchor. It's a desperate attempt to avoid the very real, very raw pain of perceived abandonment, a pain that echoes from the earliest chapters of his life. This deep, almost biological imperative to maintain connection, irrespective of its quality, is a formidable barrier to letting go. Our grasp on possessions, both tangible and intangible, is also profoundly influenced by loss aversion and the endowment effect. These concepts, championed by Nobel laureates Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky in their pioneering work on prospect theory, 1979-1992, reveal a fundamental asymmetry in human psychology. The pain of losing something is psychologically far more powerful than the pleasure of gaining something equivalent. Simply put, we hate losing more than we love winning. The endowment effect is a direct consequence of loss aversion. It describes our tendency to ascribe greater value to things merely because we own them. Once something becomes ours, its perceived value inflates, often irrationally. We aren't just attached to the object, we are attached to the idea of it being ours. This makes letting go of possessions, ideas, or even past versions of ourselves incredibly difficult. The perceived loss of giving something up feels like a greater blow than the potential gain from acquiring something new. Imagine Mrs. Sharma, an elderly lady in a quaint South Indian village, who owns a small piece of land inherited from her ancestors. The land is unused, yielding no income, and incurs regular taxes. A developer offers her a generous sum, far exceeding market value, which would allow her to live comfortably for the rest of her life, free from financial worries. Yet, Mrs. Sharma flatly refuses. This land, she explains, has been in our family for generations. It is a part of me, a part of my heritage. How can I sell it? Logically, the money would significantly improve her life. But the sentimental value, amplified by the endowment effect, makes the loss of the land feel unbearable. The land has become more than just a piece of property, it has become an extension of her identity, her family history, and her sense of belonging. The emotional cost of relinquishing it vastly outweighs the financial benefit of selling it. She is averse to the loss of this endowed item, even if holding on to it brings no tangible benefit and, in fact, creates a financial burden. This psychological bias makes us cling to investments, relationships, and even outdated beliefs, simply because they are ours, and the thought of their absence triggers a primal aversion to loss. Beyond external ties, our internal sense of self plays an equally critical role in our inability to move forward. This brings us to identity fusion and self-narrative. Our self-concept is not a static entity, it is a dynamic, evolving story we tell ourselves about who we are. When certain relationships, goals, past achievements, or even failures become deeply intertwined with this self-narrative, letting go feels less like losing an external thing and more like losing a fundamental part of ourselves. The work of researchers like William Swan Jr., 1987, on self-verification theory highlights our inherent drive to maintain a consistent self-concept. If letting go contradicts this ingrained self-story, our minds resist it fiercely. Consider Rajesh, a former national-level cricketer whose career was cut short by an injury in his early 20s. Now in his late 30s, working an ordinary office job, Rajesh frequently regales colleagues with stories of his cricketing glory, often neglecting his present responsibilities. He refuses to explore new hobbies or career paths that don't involve cricket, even passively. For Rajesh, being a cricketer wasn't just a profession, it became his core identity, his primary self-narrative. He defined himself by his athletic prowess, his discipline, his achievements on the field. The injury forced him to let go of the act of playing, but he has been unable to let go of the identity of the cricketer. To shed that identity would mean dismantling the very story he tells himself about who he is, leaving a void that feels terrifyingly empty. He cannot let go of the past version of himself because it is too deeply fused with his sense of being. The self-narrative acts as a powerful anchor, preventing him from constructing a new, equally fulfilling identity. The idea of letting go is not just about moving past a particular event, it's about undergoing an existential crisis, a re-evaluation of his entire being. This deep fusion makes letting go a profoundly threatening act, as it challenges the very foundation of who we believe ourselves to be. It feels like self-erasure, and our minds are wired to resist it with every fiber of our being. Finally, one of the most powerful, almost addictive, forces that keeps us shackled to the past is intermittent reinforcement and the persistent whisper of hope. This concept, famously demonstrated by B.F. Skinner's work on operant conditioning in the 1950s, explains how unpredictable rewards can create incredibly strong and persistent behaviors. When a reward is given intermittently, rather than consistently, the organism learns that effort might pay off, even if it doesn't every time. This uncertainty makes the behavior incredibly resistant to extinction. We keep trying, hoping that this time, the reward will come. In human relationships and situations, this translates to the dangerous allure of on-again off-again dynamics. Imagine a partner who is inconsistent, sometimes loving and attentive, sometimes distant and cruel. Or a job where praise and recognition are sporadic, punctuated by long periods of indifference. The unpredictability creates a powerful addiction. The moments of positive reinforcement, however rare, become intensely magnified, overshadowing the consistent pain or neglect. Our brains, craving that reward, enter a state of heightened anticipation. We cling to the hope that the good times will return, that the person will change, that the situation will improve, even against all rational evidence. Consider Meena, a bright young woman working in a startup in Bengaluru. Her boss, a brilliant but volatile entrepreneur, is known for his unpredictable behavior. One day, he might shower her with praise, calling her the future of the company. The next, he might ignore her completely or publicly criticize her work without reason. Meena is miserable, stressed, and often contemplates leaving. Yet, she stays. Why? because those infrequent moments of recognition and praise are incredibly potent. They reinforce her belief that she is valued, that her hard work is seen, and that if she just pushes a little harder, endures a little more, the consistent positive reinforcement she craves will finally materialize. The occasional "Aata girl" or a sudden, unexpected bonus acts like a powerful drug, keeping her hooked, making her tolerate the otherwise unbearable conditions. Her hope, fueled by this intermittent reinforcement, blinds her to the reality of the toxic environment.